Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, hopefully you all had a very Merry Christmas. We did. It was a great time with family and friends and church family, and it was just a great Christmas time. Well, we had some great warm weather leading up to Christmas, but right on Christmas Day, the weather has taken a turn for the cold, and winter, I think, is finally here. So that means today we needed to find a nice warm spot to talk to you guys. We decided to come into the greenhouse.
One of the nice things about it being cooler outside but still sunny is that in the greenhouse warms up. So it is probably 40 degrees outside, maybe
Yeah,
not
not
even
even
40
40.
degrees, but it is 70 plus degrees in the greenhouse right now.
Right. That's one really nice thing about having a greenhouse. Now, this greenhouse is from Grower Solutions. If you guys ever want to check them out, they have a ton of different sizes. But this greenhouse, one nice thing about having a greenhouse is that in the winter, when you're just kind of missing being able to be outside, you can come work in the greenhouse. Even though it's cold outside, it's a nice, warm summer day here in the greenhouse, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
And I just want to remind you guys that we do not heat this greenhouse. So even though it's 70 plus degrees on a sunny day, come nighttime, it does cool off.
Right. It gets just as cold in here overnight as it does outside. But with the flow fans running and row covers over the plants, we really don't get any frost damage in here, which makes it very nice.
And also, even though it's an unheated greenhouse, there still are several types of plants that we grow in here all winter long that will survive and thrive. Now, we do have kind of a mild climate here in southwestern Missouri, but there are people that grow in unheated greenhouses with more and more kinds of ways to protect their plants as far north as up in Canada. So
Right.
this is really doable regardless of the climate that you live in.
Now, we do still get plenty of cold weather here. We'll get down into the teens and the 20s. Normally, January and February are our coldest months here. And so it gets plenty cold. It would be way too cold to grow these plants outside. The greenhouse is definitely what makes this possible for us.
But because it is unheated, we can't grow tomatoes all year round,
Right.
peppers all year round. It does get too cold for that. But we are enjoying having an unheated greenhouse here in our area over the winter.
We did a video, I don't know, 6 weeks or so ago showing you guys that we were planting the greenhouse for the winter. So the first thing that we want to do today is just take you guys real quickly to give you an update on how all of those things are doing, because we planted everything from seed. So at the end of that video, we still just had buckets of dirt. Now we actually have some plants growing. We want to show that to you. And then we're going to take this opportunity while we're out here in the warm sunshine just to sit down for a few minutes and answer some of the questions that you guys have submitted to us over the last couple of weeks. We're excited to try to answer some of those questions for you. So let's start with a quick update on the plants in the greenhouse.
Now, when we planted this greenhouse for the winter, we only planted half of the greenhouse. This half has 36 buckets that we planted, and the other half has just remained unplanted, and that's fine. We'll get to that over the winter, filling the buckets back up and incorporating more organic compost, and then in the spring we'll go ahead and plant those. But the buckets that we did plant with seed, they are doing fantastic. Now, the majority of the planting that we did is lettuce. Kevin and I absolutely love to have fresh lettuce salads through the winter. And then when we plant for spring and summer and stuff, our attention turns away from lettuce and onto the other things that we grow. All of the lettuce varieties are doing really well, and I think they're actually getting to the point where I could do a first small cutting of some of these. You can see how gorgeous these lettuces are. And now we planted leaf lettuce varieties so that we can cut them and then they'll grow back again rather than head lettuces. They're doing really well, and I think this week I'm going to cut our very first salad. The nice thing about these varieties of lettuce is that it seems like once you do the first cutting, it like invigorates them and they start growing even faster. So I look forward to that. The next buckets here, we planted 2 different varieties of bok choy, and they're doing pretty well. They're still pretty little, and that's okay. We planted, the rest over here is half turnips and half rutabagas, and they are still pretty small. Now, to be honest, Kevin and I planted this greenhouse probably a month later than we should have. So things are still very small. The plants like the turnips and the rutabagas are probably going to end up maturing in the spring or very, very early spring when the plants think it's spring in the greenhouse. So probably in March. And that's okay. If we want to cut back some of their greens and cook them up in a skillet and have, cooked greens, we could do that until their bulbs form. But we really do like to let them grow to maturity. Turnips and rutabagas are two of our very favorite types of vegetables.
All right, well, we pulled up some buckets so we could sit down with you guys for a while and just answer a few of the questions that you guys have submitted over the last little while. We're going to start with a couple questions that are kind of greenhouse related. The first one is about when we sell plant starts in the spring. We sell at the local farmers market. We start all of our own plants. We'll usually sell, 1,000 or more plants every spring. The question was, do we need a license in order to sell plant starts at the farmers market? Now, I can only tell you the answer for here in Missouri, so if you're in another state, you might need to check out what the rules are for your state. But here in Missouri, we do not need a license for selling vegetable plant starts, which is what we sell at the farmers market.
Really, anything that can be started from seed. You don't need to have a license and you don't need to have like a greenhouse inspection. So really that's all we do. We start our vegetables and any herbs. If we sell any flowers, which I generally don't do,
Right.
We start everything from seed here on the homestead that we take to the farmer's market. Now, if I were going to start taking cuttings from perennials or dig things up from the ground, we would need to have a license and our greenhouse would need to be inspected before we could sell at the farmer's market.
Right. And they do that so that you're not transferring diseases like a lot of the bigger, like commercial greenhouses and growers. They don't actually start their own plants. They buy them in from a company. There's companies that all they do is start plants and then they supply the greenhouses and then the greenhouses grow them and sell them, but they don't actually start them. And in that case, yes, that's when you get into inspections and all that. But for like what we do, we don't need an inspection.
And that is different in every single state, those requirements.
Right.
So you definitely want to check into your state's requirements if what we do is something that you'd like to do in your state.
Right. And even some farmers markets have different rules. Some farmers markets might actually come out and want to inspect your farm themselves for different things. So you definitely want to check into all of that wherever you're at.
We will be starting seeds for the farmer's market. Actually, we'll start some of them in January.
Right.
Those herbs that take a long time to mature to the size that we could sell them. So that's going to be starting pretty soon.
Right. And actually, the things that will grow here in our greenhouse next spring, because we can plant so much earlier in the greenhouse, a lot of those will be planting sometime in January as well.
That's right. The next question is whether or not we will have a store of some type where we will sell our farm products, whether that is at the homestead, in town, or an online store where we will ship and sell our farm products. And this person was mostly interested in the rendered lard that I have done recently. I did a video how to render pig fat into usable lard, and this person was interested in purchasing some of that from our homestead. It is actually not in our plans in the future to have a store of any kind that we would sell the food, the produce, the meat, the fat and rendered lard that we produce on the homestead. We are mostly interested in raising food for our family, our extended family, Kevin's parents and our kids as they get older, and our church.
Now, if you are interested in buying good farm-raised products, we just recently introduced you guys to some friends of ours, Rich and Shelley at Air to Ground Farms. They're another small farm here in our area, and they do ship products all over, so I would encourage you to check out not only their YouTube channel, but their farm if you want to buy, meat and things that can be shipped to you. Now, the person that was asking this question about the lard was asking because she said she was having a hard time finding lard locally, or good homemade lard locally. Our answer to that question really is that we think you should try to source pig fat locally, and that can be done almost anywhere. I would look either online in your local area for a small butcher, some place that might sell better cuts of meat that might trim the fat off the meat, because for some reason a lot of people like the fat trimmed off their meat. So you might find a small like butcher shop that has extra fat. A lot of times they'll either give it away or sell it super cheap. And then you can follow Sarah's video to learn how to render it and make your own homemade lard.
That really is the best solution, in our opinion, of how to get those products, is to, find a way to do it yourself.
Now the next question is a question that honestly I think we've answered several times in Q&A videos, but we keep getting asked it, so we're going to answer it again, and that is, where do we get the t-shirts that we wear? Now, to be honest, neither of us are wearing the types of shirts that people were asking questions about today. People were asking questions about the Christian t-shirts that Sarah normally wears and the funny t-shirts that I normally wear. Well, I'll answer for myself first. The funny t-shirts that I wear, you guys, I don't have one specific place that I buy them. If I am online and I see a funny t-shirt that I like, I usually just go ahead and order it, because it's just something that I enjoy doing, and I know it brings you guys some enjoyment as well. So I wish I had a better answer for you guys. I don't have a specific place. There was one that I wore recently that said Tomato Whisperer, because you guys know how much I love tomatoes. That was actually a gift from my mom for Father's Day. So, I just get them wherever I can when I find one that I think is funny.
And the t-shirts that I normally wear are from a company called Ellie and Grace. It's a wonderful Christian company, and they're actually out of Missouri. They do the silk screening right there, and they send it out. It's a wonderful company. Again, it's called ellieandgrace.com. You can order t-shirts from them all year round, and they really have a wonderful mission and a wonderful company.
And we have a link to them in all of our video descriptions with a coupon code.
Yes.
So you guys can get 10% off if you order through them.
That's right. So if you're interested in that, check out the description section of this video. The next question has to do with chickens. This particular person was asking if they have more than one breed of chicken. They want them both to be able to free range, but they don't want them to interbreed with each other. So they want the genetics to stay pure for both different kinds of chickens. And how do we work that? Do we rotate what days they can come out of their coops and free range? How do we keep, like, our silkies from breeding with our breast chickens?
Well, for those of you who watch us regularly, you may already have kind of figured the answer out to this, and that is that we do keep our chickens in separate areas. Now, we give them a lot of space, so while they're not completely free-ranging as far as they can go anywhere on the homestead they want, they do have a ton of space. Our American breast chickens live in our chicken moat area, and right now that area it's a 6 foot wide by almost 900 foot long run area that they have. So they have a lot of space. Even though it's narrow, they have a lot of space that they can free range in. And then our silky chickens, they actually live over in Wattlesville with our ducks and the geese, and so they are completely separated from our other chickens. That way, we know that if we save eggs from the silkies, they're pure silkies. If we save eggs from the American breast, they're pure American breast. Now, there may be times when we have other chickens in the chicken moat area as well. And what we'll do in those situations is we will block off certain parts so that each type of chicken has its own section. Now, in this person's instance, it sounds like they just let their chickens run anywhere they want to on their homestead, and that's fine. In those situations, if you do want to keep your genetics pure, you do either have to let them out on separate days and then keep them secluded on the day, on the other days, or you would need to, take whatever rooster and hens that you want to breed at that specific time and maybe separate just, say, like 3 or 4 of your hens and that one rooster, separate them into a separate, tractor or something for a month, and then save the eggs when you know that they are fertilized right from that rooster. Otherwise, you definitely will end up with mixed breed chickens.
The next question is, do we do all of our own video work? Do we have a camera crew? Do we hire somebody to do our editing? How do we work that with our channel? The answer is we do all of our own video work. We record ourselves, we record for each other, we use a tripod a lot of times, and all of our editing is done by us. We both do take turns doing the editing.
Now for editing, we edit on a Mac computer. We only use Mac computers. We just find them to be a little more stable and useful. So we edit on a Mac. We use a program called Final Cut Pro, which is an Apple product. That is what we use to edit all of our videos. We both do the editing. And you guys, when we started making videos for YouTube about 7 years ago, we didn't know the first thing about video editing. So we've learned it all as we go. Maybe our videos aren't as great as far as, fancy editing as some of the other channels, but it's something that, we just taught ourselves as we went along, and we think we've done a pretty good job.
And over the years, we've had different kinds of cameras that we have used. Right now, we are primarily using either a Canon M50 camera or our phones.
Right.
And over the years, phone photography and the video quality on phones has really been pretty amazing.
Right.
And I think over time, and in 2024, we will probably start using our phones more and more for recording because you guys, they're just great.
Right, yeah. The combination of our iPhones and these Rode microphones that we use just really gives unbelievable video and really good audio. Now the next question is one that I actually wish I didn't have to address, but it is something that keeps coming up and we need to address it. And that is scammers on YouTube. So many of you have noticed that, especially over the last couple of years, you'll leave a comment on our channel, and then maybe within just a couple seconds, you'll get a message that appears to be from us, and it will usually say something like, "Hey, you've won a prize," or "We've got something special for you. Contact us on Telegram." And so it gives you all these instructions on how to download Telegram and go onto the Telegram app, and then you'll message whoever is on the other end, and they'll tell you you've won some prize, maybe a free greenhouse or whatever, and all you have to do is pay, $500 for shipping, and we'll send you a free greenhouse. Let us just tell you guys this. That is always a scam.
Yes.
We will never ask you guys to contact us through an app like Telegram. We will never ask you to send money for anything. On the occasions where we do give away something like a greenhouse or a freeze dryer or any of that, we will never ask you to pay for the shipping. We will never ask you to pay for anything. So please, you guys, don't fall for that scam.
Right.
This isn't something that's just happening on our channel. This is happening, unfortunately, all over YouTube, on homesteading channels and every other type of channel as well. These are scammers, usually from other countries, that are just trying to get your bank account information and then, rip you off for a lot of money. So please, please, please don't fall for it. If we do a giveaway or something like that, we will always give you clear instructions on how to sign up, how you will be notified if you win, and there will always, it will always just make it super clear.
And really, just to be honest, for our business and for Living Traditions Homestead, we don't even have Telegram.
Right.
So we'll never ask you to contact us through Telegram.
Right. So just be aware, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Well, the last question that we're going to talk about and we're going to answer today is about what would we change from when we very first started homesteading. So in the first couple of years, now looking back, since we've been doing this for a long time, what would we do differently? And that's really not an easy thing for us to answer because we really feel like overall we plan pretty well, and a lot of the decisions that we make they're pretty well researched. And we generally have really good reasons for why we do things in the order and that we do, and why we start to do things and why we stop doing things.
Right. And let me just say this as well. As we look back, there are definitely mistakes that we made early on in homesteading, but I'm not sure I would change that because a lot of those things you kind of have to experience. You have to try out a lot of different types of animals before you kind of realize which animals are going to work for you or which animals you enjoy raising. And you have to try a lot of different styles of gardening before you really figure out what it is that you want to do. So there are mistakes that we made, but I think all of those mistakes are definitely beneficial. And I don't think I would redo those or do those in a different way. I would actually think making those mistakes was a very positive thing. So we thought long and hard about this question, because if that's the case, if all the mistakes were good, then what would we do differently? And I do think the one thing that I would do differently, and I think Sarah was in agreement, was that we would slow down a little bit on infrastructure and kind of the design and layout of the homestead. Instead of kind of jumping feet first into everything and just like building something right away without really thinking about maybe where it is on the homestead and the logistics of, you know, doing chores and all of that, I would slow down and I would really plan out where everything is on the homestead.
And really look more and plan more about how building something there and having animals there is going to affect a lot of things. Do you have water there? If not, how are you going to get water there? And if it's going to work great in the summer, is it going to work great in the winter? Because running hoses to places kind of far away to get water to your animals in the middle of winter, it's really, it's really terrible. And honestly, you just end up carrying 5 gallons of buckets everywhere that you have animals several times a day, and it can be a real nightmare.
The other thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is mowing the grass in the summertime. If you have everything super spread out on your homestead, you need to keep, at the very least, paths mowed to every spot that you have. And I feel like over time we've learned this lesson the hard way. We've had, like at our last homestead, I mean, it would take a long time to mow every time we had to mow. And here in Missouri, during like the spring and early summer, that's like twice a week at least.
Right.
It probably should be even more than that. And if it's taking you 7 or 8 hours to mow 2 or 3 times a week, I mean, that's a lot. So I definitely, when we started planning this homestead that we're on now, which I really am, I'm telling you guys right now, this is this is it for us. This is the last one. We're not doing this again. We're starting to get too old to do this too many more times.
Right.
So this is it. And we've really thought about the layout of this homestead and really how we can use animals to assist us.
Right.
And I'll give you guys kind of an inside track on what we're going to do this spring. Because one of the things that maybe was a mistake early on this homestead is we built this chicken moat area and didn't think about mowing inside of that. We thought the chickens would keep it mowed down enough, and they really haven't. So in the summer, I'm actually, because it's too narrow to get in there with like a riding mower, I'm having to hand mow 900 feet of that chicken moat, and it's quite a chore.
And it's not just like one pass.
Right.
You know,
it's just wide enough that really even 2 passes, it's like I have to go around the whole thing 3 times.
Right. And we have the moat, you know, separated into 4 different areas so that we can have 4 different sections of animals. So then you have to like open the gate, close the gate, all these times. And, and it really can be a chore. And honestly, sometimes it just doesn't get done because it's not high on the priority list. And then we've got grass that's too long.
Right. So what we've decided to do as an experiment for this next year, we weren't going to say this until spring, but I'll tell you guys now, is, as you know, we have geese over in Wattlesville, and we would like to hatch some geese out to butcher as meat next fall. So what we're going to do is when these geese start laying in the spring, we're going to incubate their eggs, and then those baby geese, we're going to put maybe 2 or 3 in each section of the chicken moat to live with that group of chickens, whatever's in that section. And then we really think that the geese, because geese really love to eat grass, we think they will keep it mowed down in there. So we'll let them live in there all summer. They'll be able to eat the grass all summer. And then in the fall, when there's no longer grass for them, it'll be the perfect time to process them. So that's our plan kind of going forward. But you guys, that would be my advice, is just slow down and really think about where you're putting things on your homestead and how much extra work is it going to create if you put it in one spot versus another.
Right. So you guys, those are the several questions that we identified to give you the answers to today. And we're so happy that we were able to come into the greenhouse today because it's gorgeous in here.
Right.
Nice and warm, even though it's cold outside. But to give you an update of how well things are going in here, we're excited to get some salads coming in the next week or so. We really do enjoy talking with you guys and answering the questions that you have for us, once a month or whenever it is that we get around to it.
If you have questions for the next time we do one of these Q&A videos, leave them in the comment section of this video, because that's typically where we will get our questions from, is we'll look back at other videos. So leave them in the comment section of this video, and we will try to address some of those in the next Q&A video.
You guys, if you're enjoying videos like this, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below. And also remember, the best way that you can help us here on the homestead is just to share our videos on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.